Hello YouTube and welcome back to another episode of the Nerdwave Plays. Hope y'all are doing well, and without any further ado, let's get right into it. So, looks like where we left off, Roland finished Sledge to the safe house. So let's go knock out Circle of Death round 2.
What do you want? Spit it out.
Let's go knock it out. But before we go, there's always extra monies lying around, or ammo. Normally it isn't much, but, you know.
You know what you need to know.
A little something something. Hope everyone's having a good week. Recording this on a, it's actually not my normal recording day, it's actually a Sunday afternoon. You know, I had some plans, so to speak, but they fell through, so here we are. It's like, well, I can, you know, I can continue re-binging How I Met Your Mother, or let's record. I'm like, I want to record. So let's do that. Alright, so let's set the waypoint finder to Circle of Death. Knock that bad boy out real quick. And then we'll go do the Shock Crystal Cave. Oops. I bet we'll probably hit level 17 before we get to the cave too. Well, is it 2 bars? About 2 bars to level. I think we'll be good. You know what? If I can get a nice incendiary rifle that isn't 3-round burst for situations like this, that would be awesome. And these alpha scats just getting in your face is just, they get annoying. Alright, well, we're right here, and there's an ammo vendor in there, so we'll ammo up real quick. And we'll jump right in. Alright, that's set. Okay. You know what? We were going to pick up another storage deck upgrade, and we didn't. But that's okay. We'll head back to Firestone a little later. But you know what? For here, since we're going to be in close quarters, maybe the support machine gun might fare a little better, and I should have waited for. Boom! You say it's like we should wait for it for my Scorpio turret to reload. Whoa! Getting messed up here. Yes! Still in it. Okay. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I don't like how my turret goes away. Oh no! Okay, that did not go very well. Yeah, I forgot that the turret goes away if you fall. If you fall mid-combat. Okay, let's finish this up. Of course. Alright. Today's actually Mother's Day, so I wager there aren't a lot of moms watching this, but hey, if there's any moms out there, that's what it is. Although it'll be very delayed by the time you watch this, as I have several other episodes that are airing before this. Anyway, so yeah, I went out this afternoon. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, the reload time on this is atrocious. Oh, so close. So close. Anyway. Yeah, I went out this afternoon to run some errands. And I live fairly close by to a Portos bakery. For those of you not familiar, Portos is a Cuban style bakery, very popular. There we go. Just had to time that a little better. I walked by because I was gonna park. There's this store I was checking out, but there's no parking in the front of the store because it's off like a really big street. So I went off a side street to see what the parking was. It was all restricted, and I'm like, man, I don't want to get towed. So I ended up parking several blocks down at this little parking structure, free parking, and then just walked over. So I'm walking over, and the Portos is right there, up in the front. And Mother's Day, people like to go out to eat. Breakfast, brunch, lunch, very popular. Not sure about dinner, but I came home well after then. But yeah, I mean, that line gets really gnarly. Like, on a weekend, it's pretty busy, but on a holiday, like around Thanksgiving, I mean, the line is awful. And I'd say the line this time rivaled the Thanksgiving line. Like, it was just wrapping around and wrapping around. And, like, it's incredible. I mean, this place is just, such a cash cow for the owners. Like, they're making a killing. So good for them. Good for them. But I was like, I am not getting in line. Actually, earlier on, I drove by. I went to a Starbucks earlier in the morning, sometime around 8:30, maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock, and there was already a long line. Like that, or like, I mean, I walked by. I was at a different store in the morning. Was looking for I was looking for a pair of jeans and some slacks. Couldn't find anything, so I'm like, well, that's a bummer. And there's a Starbucks there. I'm like, hey, I can get wanted to get a little light breakfast and a cup of tea. So I headed toward there, and like even just poking in, like you could see all the people waiting for their order. And normally, when I do go there, I tend to go earlier in the morning. This is a little later than my normal time. It's not my local one. It's a little further than my normal go-to. but you know, it was the closest one at the time. And I poked in, and there was just no way. Like, this is not happening. There were already so many people just kind of idly standing around. It's like, I am not waiting in this line. Like, I do not want my tea that bad. So I went to my, you know, I drove back home. You know, stopped at my local one, which is pretty much in walking distance from my house. It's maybe, you know, to walk there from my house is maybe a half a mile. Somewhere in between third of a mile and half a mile. You know, not too far. So it's close by, and I stopped in, and there was only like 1 or 2 people in front of line. You know, in line in front of me, and you know, people waiting for mobile orders and whatnot. Walked in, walked out. You know, not even 10 minutes, and I'm like, thank goodness, because I needed my fix. If not, bad times would have been had. Alright, so let's get to it. So these guys are interesting. These crab worms. Hit them in the head. They go down, you know, they crit. They're a little annoying when they disappear, but, you know, normally they're not. Boom! That was a mess. Nailed it. And down you go. Yeah, this metal swarm is quite helpful. As long as you keep the kills coming in a sustained firefight. I mean, look at what bonuses are we at right now with Metal Storm? 12% fire rate and 30% recoil reduction. So not only are you firing more quickly, you're firing more accurately. So it's a win-win situation. Plus, we've got the perks from the combat rifle. A little bit more damage. I mean, it says 12% reload speed, but I mean, with this big combat rifle, it just takes forever to reload, and a nice chunk of accuracy. So keep leveling combat rifles, become pretty proficient there. So, anywho, yeah, we're just looking for these shock crystals. They're not hard to find. Just see them. I don't even waste my ammo on them. Unless I'm in a hurry. Just make sure to pick them up when you're done. And you'll see these little stacks all over. I don't think. Yeah. So for this quest, like, it doesn't actually tell you where the specific piles are, but they are in the area, and again, they're not hard to find. You just kind of have to look. You can hear the little explosions they make. You know, it's not too bad.
It's like having another soldier on the field.
Yeah, missing out on shooting time.
I love this man.
Shoot faster, shoot faster, shoot faster. Shoot faster. Yes! Why won't you sit still? Oh, that was a nice hit. You know what? The shotgun's a little better at this range. yesterday. It was actually yesterday. I was browsing the home screen for the streaming channels, and I came across this movie I hadn't seen in a really long time. And it was actually pretty good. And for purposes of this, we're not going to disclose the movie. It's not important what it is. But you know, not only did I enjoy the film, there was some sentimental reasoning for it. Is I went to go see this film with my then ex-girlfriend at the time. This must have been 2005, somewhere around 2005. Because I had started working 2004, and in 2005, I remember one of our first dates, we went to see this film, and it was, I certainly wouldn't say it was my favorite film of all time. If not, I'd probably have a copy. I don't have a copy of the film, but yeah, it just kind of made, kind of gets you nostalgic a bit. It's like, wow. To be, this was, yeah, again, 2005, I was, we're in 2021 here, so I was 19 years old. I was a very young man. Wow, I remember what I was like at 19 and how different life was at 19 than at 35. It's like, whoa, there's a lot more responsibility, a lot more stress, but a lot more freedom too. At 19, I was barely getting a taste of, what freedom was like, and this was my, my first real job, full-time job. And you know what? Come to think of it, I'm not sure if I've, I guess for privacy reasons we won't share this, but you know what? I don't recall if I've actually mentioned it in a previous vlog. I'm sure that's happened, or maybe I didn't. But again, not important. Not important where it was exactly. But I did work there for a couple of years. And I left. In fact, that's how we met. In fact, was there. At work, I had already been working there for a year. Again, without giving away too much information, it was a pretty large employer. It's a globally, it's a global company. A lot of people work there, but a lot of people leave. The turnover rate's pretty awful. I remember, I got hired on because I had a buddy who worked there. In fact, I had several friends who worked there. Some in high school. Some worked there in high school. I didn't. I chose not to go in high school. But I got into college and I was like, it's rough to find a job when you haven't had a job. As odd as that sounds, it's like if you don't have any work experience at all, it's tough to get that first job. Because it's like every job you look at and apply for the most part, they all want experience. So how do you get the first job without experience? Is maybe you just got to get lucky, or you got to know someone. And luckily, I knew someone, I used them as a reference, and this employer was so big that they would have these big hiring fairs, hiring events, and he's like, oh, you know what, just go check it out. They hire a lot of people, but you know, don't get your hopes up, but you know, I was. It was 2004, so I was 19 years old, 18 years old, 18 years old. Oh gosh, I can't do math right now. I really can't do math. It was 04, so I hired on at 19. And I was a full-time college student. You know, I wanted a job. You know, I had a buddy, best friend. And his sister had worked at this place nearby, and you know, we were able to use her as a reference. So I thought I was a shoo-in. I'm like, you know what? I'm totally gonna get this. And you know, it seemed like a pretty decent first job, close to home. You know, I mean, it didn't seem too bad for what it was. You know, small family-owned business. You know, a smaller family-owned company business, whatever. I'm like, you know, this would be a good first start. And I didn't, you know, you got in, you know. I did not, and I was disappointed. And, you know, being 18, it's like, you know what? I need money. I need some cash. I'm tired of asking my parents for money. You know, and my parents weren't rich. You know, I wasn't born into a wealthy family. You know, I'd say we were kind of not quite somewhere in between, like a working class and maybe like middle class. So maybe like lower middle class, if I had to kind of guesstimate. You know, at the time, my mom was a secretary, and my father, he was an independent contractor, and he did. Who was he working for? He worked for a company that delivered like office supplies at the time. You know, and he'd had several jobs, and you know, he had lost his longtime one, and he ended up just kind of doing that. Just fate, I guess. You know, chance. So again, my parents weren't rich by any means, but you know, they knew the value of education, and you know, they really wanted me to go to school and have a formal education, so I wouldn't have to. So I would have, you know, more opportunities than they did.
This'll help.
So, you know, school was important. I was attending. Oh, geez. Yeah, we're gonna go way off topic here, but I was attending a local community college. I had no idea. I mean, you know, being 18 years old, who really knows what they want to do? I mean, some people get lucky. They're just like, they just know. I mean, from a young age, or you know, they're just like, I'm gonna do this with my life, and that's what I'm gonna do. Like, I am so passionate about this, and I'm gonna pursue this at all costs to do it, and that's awesome. If you know that's certain, and you're skilled, and you just drive, that's because that's rare. So don't feel bad. Don't feel like you're behind if you're 16, 17, and you haven't discovered. Heck, I mean, I'm 35, and I don't even think I really know what my purpose is yet. Maybe I haven't really discovered one here. But part of the fun of life is getting to figure that out. So I'm like, rather than sit there and spend all this money on going to a 4-year, you know, school, I'm like, you know what? Let's start with the basics, and let's go to, you know, a junior college and start working toward an associate's degree. Because maybe I want to do that. Maybe I'm like, well, let's let the health heal up a bit before we jump in the next one. I kind of figured, you know what, this could be better than therapy. Sometimes it's just nice getting to talk, and you know what, I don't know how many people are ever going to listen to this, but it's just nice to get things off your chest pretty anonymously, and yeah, that's pretty good. Anywho, so yeah, I'm like, you know, why spend all this money and time and frustration? Let's just, you know, go to junior college, start working toward an associate's degree, and then try to figure out, you know, what to do from there. Because at least if I have my AA, then I can make my next move from there. Maybe a 4-year degree wasn't for me. Maybe I want to get my AA only. Maybe I want to get an AA and a certificate in something, and you know, go into a trade. You know, maybe, you know, I was just this young, bright-eyed kid who was just a total daydreamer trying to sort out life. You know, that's really what it was. And I was just like all over the place. Well, I can do this, or I can do that, and you know, my interests were, again, still revolve around gaming. That's always been an interest ever since about the age of 3. I've been gaming. And cars, you know, ever since probably about the same age, even younger. It starts with toy cars, Hot Wheels and Matchbox, and you know, when you're a little boy. And then some people grow out of it. Some people are just like, you know, whatever. Cars are cars. Basic transportation, point A to point B. But then cars led to magazines. And my house was littered with automotive magazines because my dad was an auto enthusiast. So all around our house we had Motor Trend, Auto Week, Car and Driver, Road and Track, you know, all the, you know, he subscribed to a bunch of magazines, and he'd love to sit there and read. You know, at dinner time he'd have his magazine out, or you know, he'd like to chill on the couch after work, just sitting there with his favorite drink, putting feet up, reading and relaxing. So naturally, I picked it up because I was curious. Like, well, my dad loves this so much. Maybe, you know, what's the big deal? So I started reading, and then, you know, magazines paved way to the internet. You know, on the internet, all this information was online. So I'd go online and read about cars. You know, mechanically, how do they work, and you know, specifications and manufacturers and models, and you know, learning all these things, you know, how they compare to each other. And that led to, wow, I guess I'm a car guy. You know, now I'm an enthusiast. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not mechanically inclined whatsoever. I've done basic work on cars. I've changed oil. I've changed spark plugs. I've done, you know, simple installs like, you know, air intakes, strut tower braces, you know, easy peasy stuff for the most part. But I'm not mechanically inclined. I didn't really enjoy that part of the process, and I have nothing but respect for the people who do that, because that can be tough work. That can be really tough work. Anyway, we're going off on a tangent again, but so ended up going to school. You know, going to JC and trying to sort life out, you know, figure stuff out. That's what it was. Holy cow, it's a badass. Holy cow. Reload. Oh, thank goodness for that Scorpio train. Keeping me alive. Wow.
Bites the dust.
I got lucky. That could have been much, much worse. And I burned through a lot of ammo, but we're alive. And now we need to recharge health again. So let's chill for a bit. So yeah, you know, I went to school and like I realized, hey, I need money. You know, being a poor college kid sucked, because again, you're just reliant on your parents for money, you know, whatever they could help you with. And again, they weren't rich, so it's not like they just had money to throw away. They were already helping me pay. You know, I mean, I gotta live at home rent free, which was already a massive help. You know, not everyone had that luxury. You know, they helped me with books and tuition, and you know, interestingly enough, my first few semesters at JC were cheaper because I was in a private high school for 4 years, and yeah, you know, that had a monthly tuition, and but yeah, the tuition at my JC was cheaper than my tuition at a private high school. So, you know, in a way it was, you know, kind of a help to them. But still, it's like, you know, I want to be able to have my own little bit of spending money, and I want to be able to contribute a little bit to, you know, the household expenses, you know. If it was like, you know, $50 a month or something, whatever, I can pitch in a little bit just to help out. And you know, even just being able to take care of my own little expenses like food and you know, gas, you know, just little things to ease the burden off my parents. So, you know, looked around for jobs. I applied everywhere. I mean, I love video games, so, you know, naturally I applied at, like, you know, GameStop. There was another store called Game Crazy, which was inside the Hollywood Video. Applied at the Hollywood Video as well, Blockbuster Video. You know, I mean, I applied everywhere. I mean, music stores like, you know, the Warehouse Music, they're not around anymore. Tower Records, they're not around anymore. I mean, the grocery store, there was one down the street from my house. Like, it would have been perfect to work there. Like, literally a 6-7 minute walk from my house. You know, it would have been a really good first job. Couldn't get a job there. I mean, it's like nothing. I couldn't get a job, and I was just it was so frustrating. So frustrating not having any money and just feeling stuck, you know, in that young age. And finally, again, had a friend who worked for this really big company. He's like, hey, they're hiring. So I said, you know what? Let's shoot our shot. Let's go for it. I went for the job fair, and I got hired on the spot. Not the department I wanted to be in exactly, but I'm like, you know what? It's a first job, and it pays better than minimum wage. I was expecting minimum wage. This job paid a little better than minimum, and you know, there were just little perks. Can't really give the perks away because that might give the place away entirely. So we'll just leave it at that. So yeah, I got hired back in 2004. Stayed there for 2 years. You know, as great of a first job as it was, being a larger employer, they didn't care so much because, again, people quit left and right. You know, our training was just big. You know, we had, I don't remember how many people were in our initial hiring group, but it was probably between 50 and 100 people. It was a massive group. I mean, just to give you an idea, you know, it was just huge. But people left. I mean, there were people, like, I remember, actually, interesting story, I hired in and made friends with this girl, not the girl who I ended up dating, but another random girl, you know, seemed really nice, cute, and we, you know, kind of hit it off. You know, we got along really well, and you know, we did it was like several days of training before the actual training started. It was kind of like, you know, learning about the company history and the philosophy and you know that kind of stuff, and it was all paid. It was nice. It was a nice break. before, you know, the real hard work started. And we worked, you know, like 2 or 3 days together, and she needed a ride home, and she didn't live too far from my house, so I offered her a ride. She said, you know, she said, yeah, sure, you know, I'll take the ride. You know, I drove her home, dropped her off, and she said, hey, I'll see you tomorrow at training. Cool. And the next day came and went, and she wasn't there. Never saw her again. Just disappeared. There were people who made it through that first round of training, and then we got to the actual on-site, on-the-job training, and that was a lot tougher. Same thing, you know, some people lasted a day or two, and then they just left. They didn't want to deal with it. Because it is, you know, it does pay better than minimum, but it's a lot tougher. There's a lot to learn, a lot to do. There's very high demands in terms of customer service. So a lot is expected of you as well. It's not just, oh, well, they pay better. Well, they pay better because they expect more. You know, it's not like you're working at, you know, a little hole-in-the-wall place that no one's heard about. You know, where if the service sucks, I mean, no one's gonna care. But, you know, if the service is terrible here, I mean, the company really built the reputation on service. You know, the customer service, customer experience. So, anywho. We're about halfway done with here. We're going to run a little late on this episode, but whatever. You know, a little longer than I thought it'd run, but we're halfway done with the shock crystals. Still too low for the last one. We should hit level 18 before we do the last circle of... Ooh, got a new rifle. Let's check out this bad boy. Ooh, and it has explosions. Let's see. Interesting, interesting. So, a lot less damage and a lot less accurate, but the fire rate is massive. The clip size is a little bigger, and it has explosive. You know what? Let's check it out. Let's check this out.
You found an explosive weapon. Shots fired from these weapons have a chance of exploding on impact.
Maybe it's worth the So, you know, I worked there a couple of years. Didn't meet her till after my first year in. I think it was a year in. Yeah, it was about a year. And, you know, we just had, you know, I remember seeing her, but, you know, I mean, people quit all the time, so it was like, I remember seeing her one day, it's like, oh, you know, she's pretty cute. But, you know, people came and left all the time. So, it's like, you know, you might never see this person again. Let's see here. The sniper would do pretty well here. Start picking up these bad boys. You know, and you know, we had mutual friends. You know, it was a big department, but we had some mutual friends, and so we actually at lunch, a great time to hang out, talk, whatever. We just weren't that close contact, and we ended up dating for a bit, and it just kind of happened. You know, those things that are just, you know, you like, do you ever just kind of like click with someone? You know, sometimes, you know, you find people and maybe you like them, and, you know, they don't really like you, or they don't really like you the same way. In my experience, I find it's rarely mutual. Let's shock this guy. Out of the way, little guy. The distance. This guy comes around. Whoa! Whoa! What the? Wow, they respond already. Holy cow! Aw, man, you gotta be kidding me. Yes! Barely. Holy cow, I was not expecting the worms to respawn so quickly, but we'll have to watch ourselves going forward. Anywho. Yeah, you know, you ever just click with someone and like you don't have to, like you have to try, but like you don't have to really try. Oh, you gotta be kidding. Oh, what the hell? You gotta be shitting me, bro. What? These guys were not here. I must have waited way too long there. Oh, that's. Oh, we're done. We're toast. Oh, no, we're not. No, we're not. Never give up. Never surrender. Where's that? That was from Galaxy Quest. Great actor. Underrated actor. Boom. Yeah, this was not expected. Trying to kill bandits, and you get ambushed by giant crab worms. Oh, you gotta be kidding. I mean, yeah, it was pretty cool working there because, you know, a lot of people were around your age, you know, young college kids, so, you know, we all had a lot in common. We were all kind of doing similar life, so it was really cool getting to hang out with a lot of people who were similar. But more so than that, it was, you know, getting to, you know, just, you know, meet someone that you click with just almost effortlessly, or just natural attraction, natural chemistry, whatever the hell you want to call it. And like, that's pretty rare. Like, that doesn't happen a lot. That doesn't mean they're the right person for you. That doesn't mean they're the right person to date, but it's just really cool when you know, those other things just kind of fall into place, because I mean, in this crazy world, it's never really worked in my favor. Normally it was, you know, there'd be a gal and she wouldn't care, now they call it the friend zone, but you know, we didn't really have I guess that wasn't the term for it back then. You know, I'm not even sure if there was a term. Everything has a term now. But back then it was just like, yeah, she wasn't interested, you know. Another point into Metal Storm. And as the French say, allons-y. Now that we're free of all these extra distractions here. Anyway, so yeah, I'm trying to remember. It's been so long. It's been a long time. But yeah, you know, just, you know, it was just really awesome. It was really cool. It's like, hey, and things just kind of naturally progressed, and we ended up dating for a couple years. But you know what happens with these things. It's ooh, this could be an upgrade. Ooh, even more damage. Oh, it's a shot. It's a static weapon, though. Well, let's pick it up anyway. Let's pick it up. Could come in useful. you know, as far as those things go, you know, when you're young, you know, like, you know, these things don't really seem to work out the way you want them to. You kind of have this plan in your head, and nothing ever really works out the way you think it's going to work out. You know, we dated for 2 years, and, you know, like, you know, my life was going in one direction, her life was going in a different direction, and, you know, she decided, hey, you know, that's it. Grenade! Oh, that was... Boom. So, you know, there was some back and forth for a while. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do this. I don't want to be, you know, like those couples who are like, they break up, they get back together, they break up, and they get back together. It's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want to be... It's just so much stress, and like, you know, I was still trying to figure out school and like what I want to do with my life. What do I want to do? And, like, you know, I even took a semester off. Like, I started this one semester at school, and I want to say it was like 2007, 2006, somewhere around there. And I, you know, I registered for classes, and I took everything, and like, I just one day I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna take a sabbatical. I'm gonna take a semester off and get my head straight. Like try to sort things out. You know, try to figure out. So I did. I took that semester off, and I'm glad I did. I think it gave me a little bit of perspective. I think it gave me some time just to be like, you know what? Let's sort this out. And I wouldn't say I had all the answers by the end of it, but I had a better idea of where I was going, what I was going to do. And, either way, so, you know, we were still dating at the time, and you know, and then after that ended, where it's like, you know what, like, you know, that thing where you try to salvage friendship, and it's like, well, yeah, we'll still be friends, yeah, we'll still, you know, support each other and check in and, you know, hang out once in a while, and, you know, that didn't last too long. You know, just little over time, you know, we just grew apart, and, you know, I didn't want to go back and forth. She didn't want to go back and forth. And then later, it's like, she kind of came back around, and it's like, hey, you know, are we gonna... I made a mistake, and I'm like, oh, no, we're not doing this again. This isn't gonna work. You know, that's not, you know, it was already so much to handle, you know, emotionally at that age. You're just like, you know what, I don't think I want to leave. I just want to work on, focus on school, and like, you know, whatever free time I had, you know, enjoy it with my friends and hobbies, and not really worry about a girlfriend. So, you know, after that, just kind of things kind of fell in and went their own way. And let's see, let's recharge the health a bit here. This gun's great, but it burns through ammo. Anyway, so yeah, you know, things just kind of drift apart, and you know, I think we still had some mutual friends, so see on social media, you know, people just move on. You know, people move on with their life, and they do other things, and what's interesting is many years later, like, you know, I never really heard from her after that. You know, we just kind of stopped texting, calling, you know, and rightfully so. You know, I think the relationship kind of hit its natural end, you know, even the friendship, as it were. So, you know, after all that, you hit this point, it's like, you know what, this was for the best. This was definitely for the best. And, you know, that's super sad, you know, it's like, first having a, you know, oh, got a brain fart there, and I'm like, wait, let's not get killed by the burning psycho. Boom. Alright, let's recover some more health before we jump back into it. Yeah, we should still have enough ammo to get us through. I think we'll be fine.
You never should have come here. Now you're gonna burn.
Yeah, a bit distracted here. Yeah, trying to get my thoughts together. So, what's interesting though is years later, like many years, you know, you hit a. It's hard to talk about these things. And, you know, I should do more rants and ramblings when I'm doing the audio over a previous recording, not as I'm playing. That's a lot trickier. Unless it's like a really easy game that doesn't really require a lot of thought. You know, maybe in that case, but so, you know, I mean, it's always rough, you know, kind of, you know, you moving on from your first, you know, serious relationship, you know, and that's difficult for everyone, you know, regardless of how it ended. But we moved on, you know, focused on school. I was so busy anyway that it was like, shoot, I mean, I don't know how I would have balanced the relationship and being a full-time student and working part-time and being a friend, you know, being a friend with my friends and, you know, a brother and a son, and like a lot of pressure, so much to do. How do these guys shoot so accurately from the distance? I don't get it. Well, they aren't stormtroopers, I'll tell you that much. You know, some of these guys can actually shoot. But, you know, it's always rough at first, and little by little, days get easier. You're kind of sad and mopey and like, you know, the world's ending, that's it. You know, never gonna love again, never gonna date again. But, you know, people move on. Life goes on. Oh, we're done with the quest. Sweet. But you know what? Just up ahead, there is a den of skags that we can kill. But let's heal up first, because we're gonna need it. Anyway, we can rant a bit more. So, you know, time went on, years went on, you know, no communication, and things just kind of went forward, and then one day, you know, had another mutual friends in between who's like, oh, yeah, well, so-and-so, you know, this person, oh, they got married. And it's like, wow, that's random. You know, there was a mutual friend, saw a posting on there, and we were chatting. It's like, oh yeah, they got married. It's like, oh, okay, well, they beat me to it. They beat me to it. So, you know, like, that was kind of weird, because it's like, how do I react? It's like, do I care too much? Do I get a little jealous? Like, I'm like, how are you supposed to react to that news? So, I don't remember how. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool, you know, good for them. You know, hope they're well. But yeah, I guess sort of a mixed reaction. You know, seeing someone who didn't want to be tied down, I guess at the time, and wanted to be single and free, you know, was the first thing, you know, was the first one to actually settle down and get married after. So, you know, it kind of reminds me of, if anyone's seen that movie, 500 Days of Summer. You know, toward,
Wasting daylight,
you know,
fool.
jeez. I'm gonna, you know, total spoiler alert here. Sorry, so you've been warned. If you haven't seen 500 Days of Summer and you want to watch it, mute this or don't listen. But total spoiler alert. You know, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's love interest, Zooey Deschanel, you know, she ends up with another dude. You know, she ends up marrying another man. And one day after they break up, you know, in a similar fashion, they met in person, you know, not intentionally, and they had this conversation, you know, fairly amicable from what they portrayed. But, you know, they're sitting there having this talk, and, you know, he was more of that daydreamer, you know, hopeless romantic type, and she was more of a, I guess, down to earth. You know, that's probably the best word. Although, interestingly enough, you know, they kind of seem like the opposite, you know, because he was an architect, and that takes a creative mind, but, you know, there's a lot of, you know, math and logic that comes, you know, when you're designing things, because things not only have to look good, they have to also work. You know, they have to, you can design this gorgeous building, but if it's not physically possible, you know, to actually make, it's like you kind of have to check yourself back into reality to make sure it's still feasible. And, you know, this other gal, so he had studied architecture, but he was working at a greeting card company, writing greeting cards. You know, that wasn't his passion. His passion was, you know what, I should do an analysis on this. I should put some thoughts down on 500 Days of Summer. It's not gaming related at all. Not at all. But I can make like a miscellaneous playlist for that. So yeah, I'm gonna revisit this in a different video. I think I can put together some interesting things, interesting thoughts. But anywho, yeah, they're just two very different people. But he really liked her. You know, he thought, oh, she's the one. You know, when he got so fixated on her. You know, I think they kind of called her, you know, whether it's accurate for this or not, they kind of refer to her as, you know, the manic pixie dream girl. You know, when in reality, maybe it was more the manic pixie dream guy. He was the one who was down to earth, you know, not the gal who, you know, felt more aloof. Anyway, but we're not going to go down that road.
It's like having another soul.
Try to stay on topic here. But, so anyway, they're at the park sitting on this bench having this conversation. You know what, I can't believe, you know, everything is total bullshit. You know, soulmate, love, is nonsense. Charlton is like, no, in fact, you're right. It's like, that was right, you know. She replies to him. Gotcha. So she replies to him. It's like, you know, all the while I was kind of thinking, you know what? I can't believe he actually was right. He's like, well, what do you mean? You know, And I mean, the dialogue was something like that, and then she kind of says like, you know, it's just you were wrong about, you know, because she's like, what if I had, you know, I was sitting there at this restaurant or somewhere eating lunch, and this guy came up and asked me about the book I was reading, and now we're married. And she's like, well, I mean, what if I had not gone to eat lunch at that, you know, restaurant? What if I went to a different restaurant? What if I had left early or come in later? She would have never met him, or she may have never have met him. She's like, it was fate. She's like, you were right. It's just you were wrong about me. It just kind of came full circle there, because you know, he's sitting there going down this one trajectory, this one mindset, and in reality, it's like, what? I forgot where I was going with this, but you know, it felt like it just felt similar. So it's like, wow, you know, the person who didn't want to be tied down, the person who didn't want, didn't want what I wanted. You know, they ended up. They ended up getting that and going down that route, although they just swore, it's like, you know what, you know, it was more of a, you know, I just want to be single, I want to enjoy the single life with my friends, you know, and from what I recall, you know, most of her social circle was single, so that makes logical sense. You know, I think the term is, now it's called FOMO, fear of missing out. You know, you don't want to miss out, you know, you want to be close with your friends, and, you know, you want to get along with your friends, you want to be able to enjoy the same things. You know, I remember being in a similar spot in the sense of, you know, I had some friends who were dating, and I had girlfriends, and some who were single, but with my schedule, with school and work and all this stuff, it's like I just didn't have enough time, or I didn't have as much time as I would have liked to just go out with my friends, you know, just go out and, you know, let's see, that's a total downgrade, that's a bummer. But yeah, I wish I had more time with my friends, just to sit there and enjoy my youth and relax. But it's like I had to make a choice. It was like, you know, I wanted to go and finish school, and you know, once I decided, you know, I'm going to study this, and once I decided what I wanted to do, I was able to execute it. When I was more of a daydreamer, just kind of bouncing around, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that, and like, just, I didn't have the focus. I just didn't know what I wanted. But once I did, everything else kind of started to fall into place. I'm like, okay, here's what I want to do, here's where I want to go. Now, how am I going to get there? You know, that's all it took. That's really all it took, was deciding, okay, here's the path I'm going to take, this is the way to go, and we're going to do it. And I executed it. And I did. I accomplished what I wanted to. I finished, you know, I finished with a bachelor's degree in business. And I'm very proud of that. You know, graduated with honors in the major. You know, did very well. You know, from a kid who was really, I want to say this with you know, I'd say pretty smart. You know, I'm not a genius by no means. I don't want to toot my own horn here, but you know, I'm decently smart. But just once I did, that's it. It's like once I have that direction, it's like get out of my way, and let me get it done. And I did. I got it done. from the guy who was taking writing classes here and there, I buckled down. I'm like, alright, let's get it done. I think that was around,
I'm out of mags.
Out of ammo for that. I want to say, I kind of decided sometime at the end of 2007. Decided, okay, we're done. Knocked out my last Europe classic. Oh, what the heck? How did he kill me so fast? Yeah, there's no... I really don't get how they can hit me so accurately, so far away. And I couldn't even see this dude. I don't know, maybe that was the push. Maybe that was the push I needed. You know, going through that hardship, going through that difficulty was rough, but it allowed me to focus. It's like, well, I got a lot more free time on my hands now. So I did. I sat down, I wrote this. Dang it. And we did it. So anyway. Yeah, trying to put thoughts together. Kind of got it's like I always have a million thoughts in my head, and it's always hard to put it down on the spot. You know, I can do so better with preparation time, but I'm like, nah, we'll just wing it. But if I wanted to do more formal talk, I guess, yeah, you know, I wouldn't necessarily have like a full-blown written script, but I'd have talking points to keep me on track and stuff. So it's a little trickier when you're just winging stuff. This badass bruiser is making my life.
Keep score here.
Did we put that point in the talent tree? Yes, we did. So anyway. So long here that all the enemies pretty much respond. And we're starting to run a little low on ammo. That's worrying. But I think we'll be okay.
Bullseye!
With a little luck, we'll be okay. Gotta go back to Claptrap also. Rescue him and get that extra. One more sniper rifle round. Jeez,
Before we cook ya. Nailed it.
Gotcha.
Time to play!
Anyway, so
Time to pound the blood! It's time for blood! 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 Blood!
direction thing. No, you're not gonna flank me. I am one step ahead of you, mister. So, yeah, anyway, trying to get back to my point. Where was I? So we were talking about... Actually, you know what? I might take this one too. Because it's not a support style, it's just a... Oh yeah, this is definitely a much better revolver. Let's get rid of this one. This one doesn't have the explosion. Well, let's give it a whirl. See how this one works.
Wherever you are.
So yeah, things there was an element of fate working there. You know, 006 put in film GoldenEye. Half of everything is luck, James, and the other half, fate. Yeah, he's not wrong. Maybe oversimplified, but he's not wrong. Let's look at this repeater here. This looks like a nice repeater. Why don't we take you too? That's a crappy sniper rifle. Let's take this repeater. We might have more use for that later on. Let's turn in. Where's our buddy Claptrap? There he is. Or there it is. It's a robot, not a person. I don't think this one has oh, there it is. Excellent. Now we got more space in the bag. So now we just gotta pretty much head east. But we got skags and crab worms, and we'll have to fight our way over. Totally went off on another tangent. Typical me. Typical me. Let's use you instead of the sniper rifle. Might be a little easier. Close quarters like this. Here from for years just fell off the face of the planet, and then one day, out of the blue, I had been seeing this other gal for about a year. You know, we're not dating anymore either, but you know, we had dated for a while, so I don't even remember. It must have been sometime around 2015. 2015, 2016, something like that.
Critical hit.
You know, we had been dating for a while, and start dating. Seems you know, doing target runs was not unusual. So we were going to a local target.
I'm out of mag.
And you know, I think it was toward, but you know, toward the front of most targets, they have that section where it's like it's like the dollar discount section, clearance. You know, just like little things, little decorations, little small like knickknacks or whatever you want to call it, toward the front. So you know, we were walking in and we were just there, and we go to that one frequently. That was the closest one to her place. So you know, we go there like once a week, sometimes twice a week. So we went on a run, and lo and behold, you know, we were walking in, and we were talking about something, and like, you know, out of the corner of my eye, you know, like you look when you see someone you recognize, you do the double take, sometimes the triple take, and it was the ex. I caught her side profile. I don't know if she saw me or noticed me. I can't say for sure. But it was like a split second of like, that's familiar. And I'm like, oh! That's her! And I just remember being like, well, how do we do that? It's like, I need to. So it's like, what, you know, what's the protocol here? Again, I don't think she noticed me. So, you know, we just kind of continued in, and, you know, I was like, I mean, what, you know, I kind of pulled my girlfriend at the time. I'm like, hey, like, I think I just walked by my ex. She's like, you want to go? I'm like, no, let's just go do what we got to do. You know, we're here to shop, and we're here to get stuff. So let's just go get it done. So we did, you know, we went, and we got what we needed done, and I don't think I ran into her anywhere else. I mean, you know, Target's, you know, a decent-sized department store, but, you know, maybe they were on their way out. Maybe they just were stopping there and heading out and leaving. Maybe not. Who knows? But it was just, and, you know, for certain, it was her. You know, at first I was second-guessing myself. And I'm like, well, maybe it isn't her. Maybe it's... No, it was definitely her. It certainly was. But it was just very, very unusual. Because you're like, wow, you know, someone you hadn't seen in so long, ended up being, you know, I'm assuming, you know, they were a resident somewhere close by, because, you know, people go to different Targets all the time, but, you know, it's likely they're, you know, that they lived around there, and it's like, wow, that's weird, you know, seeing someone from your past, you know, unexpectedly. It's not like, you know, if you were going to like a high school reunion or something, you know, I'm gonna go meet up with people who I haven't, you know, some of those people I haven't seen in, you know, whatever, you know, there's a 5-year reunion, but that's kind of weird. I think the 10 year is kind of the big one, and then the 20-year, 25-year, and so on and so forth. So yeah, let's go back to Firestone, turn in this quest, and yeah, we're already running at well over an hour. This episode ran a lot longer
I got the ride.
than originally planned, but, you know, it's all good. It's all good. That was the trip. I'm like, whoa, like, it's just sort of a mixture of shock, and it's like, what's the protocol here? How do I behave? What do I do? You know, you're second guessing and overthinking things like I normally do, and nothing even came of it, you know. There was never a conversation, there was never that awkward exchange, you know, again, from what I can tell. Maybe she saw me, you know, maybe she noticed me, and they decided to leave, and who knows? I mean, but, you know, from what I could tell, there wasn't an exchange of looks. It was just, I happened to notice her. I don't think she noticed me. Wow, like, what a trip. But yeah, today it just brings up, you know, seeing that film the other day, was like, wow, you know, I can't believe, you know, it's just strange, you know, that there's, you know, someone can go from being this huge part of your life, you know, a critical component of your life, to one day being a total stranger. And this isn't just dealing with, you know, people who are exes, you know, this is dealing with, you know, even friends, family members, you know, all sorts of people, co-workers, all sorts of people who come into our lives. And one day they're a pretty big component of our life, and, you know, heck, even a coworker, like, you know, most of us, you know, we work full time, we spend more time with coworkers than we do with our own families. You know, in a strange way, our work family, as it were, is more of our family than our own biological family, which is,
well, that should cover it, kid.
Kind of strange to say it, but it's true. and then one day you're just strangers. You know, you quit your job, you know, you don't really keep in touch necessarily with all the people you know, it's just, yeah, it's just wow, like, just brings up all these thoughts, and you're just sitting there and they're racing and you're trying to make sense of them, and you're like, wow, I mean, people don't necessarily stay in our life. You know, important people come and go. You know, and I think a coworker is a good example, because it's like, you know, you spend a lot of time with them, you work with them day in, day out, and, you know, maybe you're not friends and you don't hang out with them, but one day they're, oh, hey, you know, so-and-so got a new job offer at this other company and they're leaving. Oh, that sucks, but, you know, well, it sucks they're leaving, but, you know, good for them, you know, congratulations. And then they're gone. Then they're just gone. And it's like, wow, again, from being an important part of your life to a stranger, because you don't really run into him. Actually, I did have a coworker once. I ran into him. You know, I was at a car meet. You know, pre-COVID, well before COVID started, but we had a weekly car meet I'd go to with some friends, and you know, we were just there chilling, hanging out, enjoying the meet, and you know, it was summer night, so I mean, the meet would get popping. You know, you'd have, you know, when we started small, you know, there was maybe a dozen of us, and it grew and it grew and it grew. It, you know, a couple dozen, several dozen. You know, you'd have 50 to 100 cars showing up at, you know, at our peak. You know, during the warmer summer months, everyone would come out at night, and I was just hanging out with some friends, and I saw him. You know, he was with his son, and I was like, whoa. I mean, I knew who it was right away, but I'm like, I mean, he wasn't you know, he wasn't really into the car scene too much, and you know, we had worked together in a different city. You know, like, I hadn't worked there for, gosh, when was this? Like, I had worked that job until 2012. And so I had been with my new employer probably already like 2-3 years, somewhere around there. So I hadn't seen him in a couple years, but I mean, you know, he looked pretty much the same. You know, so we went up and said, hey, you know, wow, I haven't seen you in a bit, and we talked a bit, and you know, shook hands and called it a day and went about our lives. But it's just that moment of like, wow, you get all the nostalgia come up, and you know, the memories come up. It's like, yeah, you know, he was cool to work with. Yeah. It's just weird. It's just blows your mind. Think about that.
Time is bullets.
Something to think about. You know, some homework, some food for thought. You know, people just come and go. People come and go. And it's not always a bad thing, though. Maybe it's not a bad thing. Maybe it's something that just is. Maybe it's just, you know, it's like people coming into your life maybe for a reason, maybe for no reason at all. But we all kind of affect each other in some way. You know, some of us in small ways, you know, some of us in big ways, but yeah. Anyway, we're just rambling. we're just totally rambling here. But here we are coming up on almost an hour and a half. This was a very long episode. But yeah, I think this is a great time to call it a day. I should call it an evening because it's getting late here. So thank you all for listening to the rant.
What can I do for you?
Next time, we'll do Circle of Death, and we're going to go into the Headstone Mine, which should be really fun, because we get to fight Sledge. And Sledge is a pain in the ass. But anywho, if you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe, so you don't miss out on future episodes, future content, whatever. Hope you all have a great rest of the week. And I look forward to catching you in the next one. Later days.